So again, my name is Vincent Driscoll, Vinny, Vin, whatever you want to call me. I'm the director of ASI Central, and my co-presenter today is Melissa Newman. She's ASI's social media manager. How you doing, Melissa?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing great. You got your hoodie on?
I do, right? It's
These are
pretty
pretty
bright and
awesome. I love
orange.
them. Pretty sweet. Thanks to Vantage Apparel for those. All right, so Melissa, tell us a little bit about your background in social media.
So I've been in the social landscape for the last 4 years. I worked in real estate. I also have my own LLC where I focus a lot with nonprofits and doing social media marketing for them. I actually also moonlighted for a very short time in the dental industry before I found my way into pro bono. And I have my master's in digital innovation and marketing from the Fox School of Business. What about you, Ben?
Well, it's no surprise. I've been at ASI for 13 years. I've been doing social media for ASI since 2009. I helped start some of our corporate social media back then, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, evolved to include the rest of the social networks. So I have about 11 years of practical social media experience for business. You have 4, so between us, we have about 15 years of social media experience. So we have a really fun educational topic today. It's called Know, Like, and Trust, Building Relationships on Social Media. If we can start the presentation now, that would be perfect. So grab your favorite promotional mug, fill it with coffee, tea, water, I don't know, fill it with alcohol. No judging here. I'm sure some of us are already doing that. If you have any questions, put them in the chat and we'll answer them at the end of this session. So let's move on to the next slide. I think this is an important question to answer. Why use social media for business in 2020? Next slide, please. Well, I think it's obvious. The world has changed. This pandemic has wreaked havoc on businesses all across the globe, not just ours. Most companies are still in work from home mode. Half of us on this call are probably wearing sweatpants, myself included. Melissa, of course, included. Business travel is at a standstill. Relationships are more important, now than ever. And the saving grace here, Melissa, has really been, digital. And what is social media? Social media is digital. Social media is free. And if you're in sales, social media should absolutely be a part of your marketing strategy, because if you're not using social media, who's using social media, Melissa?
Their competitors are.
Their competitors, and that should be reason enough. So let's go to the next slide.
All right, so why build relationships on social media? Why is this important? Can't we just run a Facebook ad, get a million conversions, and move on with our day? So if we go to the next slide, because the simple answer is you can sell effectively on social media without building relationships first, right, Vin?
All right.
Mind blown.
Yes.
So this is something that you can skip. It's really important for your business, and this is how you're going to get the best return on investment for your social media marketing strategy. So Vin's going to take it away on the next slide, and he's going to talk about the one big common mistake that companies use.
Right. Well, of course. We see this a lot. Melissa and I especially see this in 2020. The common mistake that a lot of businesses make is they just jump into social media, without a plan. They set up a corporate page. It doesn't matter what network they're on. They just set up a page. They have like a few followers. Their mom, their dad, their sisters, their cousins. And what do? They just start selling, sell, hard sell. And what do they get when they do that, Melissa?
A whole lot of nothing.
They get a whole lot of nothing. The big disappointment, I call it. Their phone is not ringing. Their inbox is not filling up. Sorry, this is just not the way social media works for business. So if we go to the next slide, let's talk about how do you fix this? I think it's a mindset. You got to think about what social media are. They're large platforms of people and businesses all connected and searchable, which makes social media large search engines. So you have to use social media, as a way to find your buyers. But how do you do that? Well, I think, the basic approach there is just do your homework, research, no matter what social network you're on, make sure you understand how it works. I think, there's functionalities with a lot of the networks that, allow you to search and filter. that, you don't even realize. You can search by city, by county, by, state, region. I mean, really understand the platforms first before delving into that approach. All right, next slide.
So this is the portion where I feel like people kind of get tripped up on, is taking action. They've signed up for these accounts and it's like, well, now what? Can I just immediately get 1,000 followers? Or like Ben was talking about, there's this expectation that you're instantaneously going to have connection with your audience. So this is really where research and planning come into play. So, researching your audience, what are their pain points? What are their goals or aspirations, and how can you deliver relevant content to them that positions you and your company and your brand as the right choice for them over a competitor? You want to serve them, you want to add value online in the communities that you participate in, you want to educate them with resources, you want to entertain them. And I think especially now during the time of COVID and this year, comfort goes a long way. Just reaching out to potential prospects, seeing how they're doing, past and current clients, cementing that relationship online is really important. And what will your team look like? Are you a social media manager of one? Will you work on an interdisciplinary team where you work with sales, advertising, customer service? What does that, kind of look like for you? And how will you disperse your content? And also, you're crushing it online, you're making all this great, amazing content. You want to reach as many people that your ideal customer as possible. So you want to grow your network, but how can we do that? So if we go to the next slide. All right, so the key to success, make a note on your phone, write it down, whatever way you please, but the key to success on social media is know, like, and trust. Okay, so it's really, if we go to the next slide, making it even simpler for you is it's taking your customer on a journey so they can know who you are and your brand, what sets you apart, why you're the right choice. Hopefully you're cultivating with them through the content that you serve them on social media. You're engaging with them. You're really just trying to create that connection and serve before you ask or provide an offer. And then hopefully if you've done the first two steps right, you've cultivated trust, and that's how you take a follower or potential customer to a client and cement that relationship online. And to kind of give you some more concrete examples, if we go to the next slide. Know, like, and trust. These are just some examples. This is another really good one to screenshot, and you guys can save for your social media marketing strategy, down the line. But know can be, creating credibility and authority in your industry. Being consistent on the platforms that you own. There's nothing worse than signing up for a platform and then it's just hanging out there online and you never use it, right, Ben?
Absolutely.
Right, and then is, asking open-ended questions, finding out more information about your audience, their pain points, and seeing, again, how you can insert yourself in topical conversations where your audience lies, and how you can continue to serve them and educate them on yourself and your company. And trust, everybody loves a good case study, right? I know I do. So how did you take one client from point A to point B? That's a great way to show your work, to brag about what you're doing. It's really important. So we're going to show what know, like, and trust looks like with a couple of promo professionals, and Ben's going to take the lead on the next case study.
Thank you, Melissa. So we're going to do a couple of case studies here. These are taken directly from a podcast that Melissa and I have. It's called The Social Angle. And this one was actually done before Melissa got here. I interviewed a guy named Seth Needham from Key Apparel, which is a supplier. And the subject was Facebook groups. And this quote was taken directly from that podcast. He said, "One of my largest sales to date came through the ASI Facebook group." Now that is a very poignant quote. Here's a guy who's been in business a long time, and he's telling us that one of his largest sales came through our Facebook group. And that's pretty telling for the power of social media. So what we're going to do here, if we go to the next slide, we're going to apply the know, like, and trust factor to how Seth was able to get that sale in our Facebook group. So I think, with social media, you do your research, knowing where your customers in social media are is half the battle. That's really important. And Seth, he did his homework. He's a supplier. His target audience are distributors. He researched Facebook. He found our group. He joined it, and he found out that this group was comprised of mostly distributors. So boom, these are the people he needs to get to know, and he was in the right place. So how did he get to know them? How did he get them to like him? So what he did was he used social media the way you're supposed to use it. He engaged. He posted content that was educational, fun, entertaining. He engaged in conversations that were already out there, and he never sold. He never did any hard selling. We had a contest. I think we've done away with this in our group, where every month we gave away a prize to the most engaged person in our Facebook group. And I think Seth won it 3 months in a row or something like that. I think we stopped because of Seth. He was so engaged. But he understood that he had to go in there and he had to join the conversation. He had to become known. He had to become liked. And then eventually he saw a conversation that he knew he could help a distributor with this product. He took the conversation offline. The distributor already knew Seth from the group. He already trusted him, and they made the sale offline. So that is a perfect short case study on the power of know, like, and trust in social media. So on to the next slide, and Melissa's LinkedIn.
All right, so thanks for that, Ben. So I love LinkedIn, and one of my favorite people to follow is Jay Patel from Equipment Zone. He was actually one of the first promo professionals I ever interviewed for the Social Angle podcast, and it was a delight talking to him about social media marketing, specifically on LinkedIn. So one of his quotes, which is just such a gem, is have a plan, be active, be engaging, and focus on giving value first, right? Like, just such a good guiding light for social. So let's talk about know, like, and trust with Jay. So if we go to the next slide. So we had booked him for the Social Angle pod, and I had sent him a request to become a connection with me on LinkedIn. And normally, 50% of the time I either get the notification on my phone that somebody has accepted me, or, it's just kind of hanging out there and maybe somebody hasn't seen it, but I am never, hardly ever get a note from somebody. So here I was, I made a request for him, and he sent me a personalized note afterwards once he had accepted me and added me to his connections. And I was blown away. He had obviously taken the time to read my profile, find some commonalities, and start a conversation with me. And he didn't slip into my direct messages asking for favors, trying to sell me anything. He just wanted to cultivate connection with me as a person. So I spoke with him for about 10 minutes, just back and forth about anything and everything. We concluded it by saying, we were really excited to sit down and talk on the podcast. And he said, before I go, check out this piece of content. And it was a TED Talk from the CEO of Canva. And he's like, marketing professional to marketing professional. I think you'd really enjoy it. You should check it out. So to me, it's like he hit all 3 boxes perfectly. He took the time to get to know me. He increased, the likelihood of me liking him by just kind of having a conversation, getting to know him. And then he really cemented trust because it was genuine. He just wanted to get to know me professional to professional. And all it took probably was 7 to 10 minutes. And think how impactful and powerful that can be for you and your promo business if you adopt the same. So we're going to wrap everything up with some key takeaways, right, Ben? In the next slide.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note with Jay and with what he did was it didn't take a lot of time for Jay to do what he did, but he became memorable, right? He's not selling you anything. He is providing value to you with something he thinks that you would be interested in, and you're going to remember that. You're always going to remember that. I'm like you. I get tons and tons of requests on LinkedIn, and I accept them, and I know, boom, within 5 minutes I'm going to get somebody trying to sell me something, and sure enough, boom, they're selling me something, and I'm just like so forgettable. Then I stop, I get rid of them. I don't even want them in my network anymore. So I'm just like, all right, that's something that stands out, and that's what people are going to remember down the line. So key takeaways, if you're going to do social media, do it right. Commit to it, educate yourself, go all in. Find a network that works for you. You don't have to be on all the networks, but find one where you can connect with your buyers, and just really stay consistent. What is consistency? Well, that's something you have to kind of figure out, refine, but always be, joining the conversation, engaging. Social media is social. Get out there and talk and engage with your audience. Folks, don't sleep on social media. It's more important now than it's ever been because of this pandemic. And that's all I got to say. I'm out.
No, great points, Ben. So the next one that I'm going to suggest is making sure that you add value. If we go back to the other slide for the takeaways. So in regards to adding value, that's how you create connection with your audience. So make sure it's relevant content, whatever you like to produce, whether it's video, stories, blog posts, infographics, whatever your heart delights in for content, make sure you're consistent and that it's giving your audience something valuable to take away. And then also refine your strategy. If you try something and it doesn't work, that's totally okay. A lot of it is trial and error, and we've totally been there, right, Ben? We've put a post up that's been a bomb, or maybe we've capitalized on a topical trend that just didn't really serve us and our brand, but we took a calculated risk. And that's really what I'll end on is it's really important to try new things. It keeps it fresh, like new features, software, platforms for yourself and your team, but also your audience, and that's what keeps them coming back. So if we go to the next
Absolutely.
slide.
Yeah, make mistakes,
Yep.
it's all about learning from them. So before we give our contact info, we do have a question from Amanda. She
Cool.
asked about Seth. Did Seth post this content just in the group or on his own page? He posted it in the group. I don't know if he also posted on his own page. She said if his own, how did he get the audience to follow him there? It wasn't on his own page. The ASI Facebook group is a self-contained private group, so you can't really share anything inside or outside of it. So all the conversations really happen there. There's different permissionings on different groups, and I believe ours is private. So there's restrictions about getting external stuff going on internally. So whether or not he shared it on his own page, possibly, but he's also sharing the same pieces of content within that page. So I believe that's our last.
Oh no, we got another one from an audience member. So Jake asked, what do you feel are the most important social platforms for the promotions industry? That's a good one. Because
No,
I feel like
I've had this answer forever. You have to be on Facebook, and you have to be in Facebook groups. Look, I don't like Facebook. I'm in there because I have to be, but personal use, I don't like being on Facebook. But from a business perspective, Facebook is where if you have to choose one, be in Facebook. Have a page. You absolutely have to have a page because it's like yellow pages of digital. Everyone needs to have a Facebook presence because if somebody searches for your business and they can't find it on Facebook, they're probably not going to look for you anymore. So have a page, but also be active in groups.
so
Melissa.
I would have to say Instagram and LinkedIn. I feel like they're my two new favorites just because I feel like LinkedIn is often like overlooked and it's such a B2B gold mine. And I feel like if you're looking for thought leadership and to set yourself apart, like that is a great place to do so. And I feel like Instagram is so interactive, like I've spoken to some other promotional products professionals who are just really doing awesome things. Like a great example, the merch studio. If you guys can follow that handle for more and more merch, like you'll see kind of a master class in somebody who's doing Instagram right in the promo industry, and it's just from the feed to the aesthetic to the captions to the way that they engage with their audience. They've gotten sales specifically through Instagram. I just think that are probably like my two favorites. And then we have another question.
Wow.
How do we get involved? We're popular then. How do we get involved in the private group? So essentially it's attached to our Facebook page, but I know sometimes that can be hard to find, but I can actually share a link out on Twitter. You can always request. If you go to the Advertising Specialty Institute, you click on the drop-down menu that says groups. It's the first one at the top, the ASI exclusive group. I can also share a link through the chat if you guys use it.
Also, you guys our contact info is right there.
Yeah,
You can
yeah.
email us on vdriscoll@asicentral.com, Twitter, at me at ASI Central, and Melissa's information. Go for it.
All right, so my Twitter handle is Melissa_ASI, and then you can email me at mnewman, think Seinfeld at asicentral.com.